Welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth, where we dive into all subjects that will help you become healthier and happier. As a dentist, I believe dentistry is more than just teeth. So I created this show to focus on overall health. We will hear from leading experts about eating better, exercising better, breathing better, and sleeping better. We want to help you create harmony in your life so you can live your life to the fullest. We want you to thrive. Hello and welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. I'm Dr. Hal Stewart. I'm really excited today because I'm going to be talking to an old friend. When I say old, I don't mean in the sense of being an old person, because she's not. She's very, very young, just like I am. It's an old high school friend of mine, Melinda Thomas Vague. Melinda, hi. How are you doing today?
I'm great. So nice to be here, Hal.
Well, it's great to have you. I chose Melinda to be on the podcast because she's a great person, but she's got a great story, and I want to share that with you today. I want her to share that with you today. So Melinda, you live in Austin, Texas, one of the great cities in Texas. And how long have you been there?
I have actually been here since college, except for a short stint in Houston where I married my husband, but we moved back. We moved back quickly to Austin.
Okay. I met my wife in Houston as well. So a lot of good things come from Houston.
They do.
But we get them out of Houston as quick as we can, and we get them back to Dallas and Austin, right?
That's right.
So Melinda and I went to high school together. And Melinda, what are some of your memories back in high school at Louisville High School, the Louisville High School Fighting Farmers?
Fighting Farmers. I just want to remind people that Louisville was very small back in the late 70s, and everybody knew everybody. Everybody's parents knew everybody. It was just a phenomenal way to grow up, I think. And I think you can agree with that, Hal. Because It's just kind of this big family sense. And if something happened bad to someone, we all felt it. And so we have those stories as well. But the one story I want to share with your viewers, Hal and I came from competing middle schools, DeLay and Hedrick, but still everybody knew everybody, and we were both in the band, so we crossed paths in regionals and stuff. But once we got to high school, I remember, do you remember freshman marching band?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the story I have to tell is we were in freshman marching band. They would face us towards the sun and not let us close our eyes. But we were in a command march off. And I think, was it Stanley Goff was the drum major? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But we were in a march off. So they would eliminate people one by one who messed up in the march offs, the commands. And it all came down to me and you. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yes.
And I was standing there going, I am not going to let this boy beat me. That's all I can remember. And my saving grace is that I did win. So that's my one Hal Stewart story that I always tell.
Oh, I think the sun got my eyes and I sneezed or something. I think that's why you won.
Oh, those were good times.
Yeah, those were fun times, and I agree with you, Melinda. Our community, probably not unlike a lot of communities around the country at that time in the smaller towns, but everybody was really close, and I always grew up thinking everybody had the same experience that I did in school and high school, but there's so many people out there that just had horrible experiences and wanted to get out of their town just as soon as possible. So I think that those memories that we have are that are fond to look back on are comforting to know that we have that. So Melinda, over the years, we all go our separate ways, and we go into different careers. Your career has been, at least for the last several decades, in personal training, correct?
Yes, it'll be 35 years in June. I've been in the group fitness industry and personal training. So I lead classes as well as do one-on-one sessions with people as well.
Yeah, before COVID, there's a great article, by the way. You were leading what, 18 different classes a week over 9 different locations and training personally as well, correct?
Yeah, I got a lot of miles on my car.
Boy, you did. Just going from place to place to lead classes was an exercise in and of itself.
Right.
What kind of classes were you teaching then pre-COVID, or what you teach now? I know that you do a little bit of everything, right? Boxing, water aerobics, spin.
Like right now, I teach boot camp and spin at an actual gym live, and then I have an online group that it's like a virtual gym. I go and teach my classes in front of the camera.
Okay.
They can join me, or they can take the class later.
I see.
They just pay like a membership fee.
Yeah. Okay. And sometimes I see you doing that on Facebook, for just occasionally too. So I really want to get into fitness and what our viewers, we're hopefully getting near to the end of this COVID thing, and people have what do you call it, Melinda? The 15 or 20 pounds they gain?
The pandemic pudge.
The pandemic pudge. I love it. I've heard the COVID-19 pounds, but the pandemic pudge. That's wonderful. So I really want to get into that. But Melinda, you have an amazing story. You're an amazing person. I remember back, in high school, and the march off that we had, the experiences in band that we had, and your when I think of you and your personality, it's just upbeat and full of energy. And so it takes, I think, a special kind of person inside to overcome odds that you have. So obviously our viewers can see you, and they notice there's something a little bit different about you. Tell us your story, because I've read it, but I love hearing it straight from you.
Okay, I'll just give like the kind of synopsis because it's long and boring. But so in 2010, I started having problems lifting things, and it would hurt my arm, and it would hurt all the way down to the wrist. And as the weight increased, the more pain, blah, blah, blah. So lots of doctors, lots of tests later. My doctor says, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a little schwannoma. We'll go in there and we'll just cut it out. Because it was, after an MRI, it showed up in my median nerve area on my right forearm. So he goes in, takes it out, and protocol is to send whatever tissue off to pathology.
Right.
And so it sits in pathology for 6 weeks and goes from expert to expert to expert to expert. And finally comes back to be this really rare form in my age of person, form of cancer, which is synovial cell sarcoma, which is usually an adolescent cancer. And the way I presented, which was in the forearm and the median nerve, I'm the 4th person in the world to ever have that. So
wow.
I'm like, oh, good for me.
Lucky you.
Yay. So I opted not to do all this tendon transfer crazy stuff and just kind of hope for the best, but in the back of my mind knew that something was going to happen at some point. But fast forward to 2017. So I got 7 good years with that arm, 7 more years. And then it came back. And this time it came back pretty strong. And so the surgeon said, well, you can amputate and let's do a little chemo, or you can die a miserable death over about a year and a half. And I was like, okay, A or B? A or B? Okay.
Flip a coin, huh?
Yeah. I'm like, those are my only choices. Got it.
Wow.
So I had surgery, went through 3 months of really strong chemo. Got this, everybody that goes through chemo gets weak and loses muscle mass and weight and doesn't feel good. And so that was January, February, March of 2018. By April, I was back on the spin bike. I'm like, this is what I do. So I have to work my way up to it.
Yeah. Oh,
and I literally gave myself maybe 30 seconds to feel sorry for myself, because I'm like, you know what? That's not who you are as a person. You don't get to feel sorry for yourself. Yeah. You get up and show people what it is to, like, I got this. Right. I got this. No problem.
That's amazing. I mean, one of four people in the world,
Yeah.
and you can look at that as poor, pitiful me. This has never happened to anyone else but me, and look at me, though I'm horrible. Or you can do exactly what you did, and imagine the lives that you have changed just by your story alone. I got chills just listening to you describe that. So, wow, that's just wow. That's really
And
neat.
and we grew up with great parents, and my father, I don't know if you remember him, Gene Thomas. He
Mhm.
was, flying planes in the war when he was 19, and this is you just get up by your bootstrap and you
Right.
just do what it takes
Yeah.
and you work hard.
Yeah. I, I tell people this. I'm so blessed to be my age because I was raised by that generation,
Hmm.
that what they call the greatest generation. I firmly believe that, and
Right.
and I just hope a little bit of that has rubbed off on me, and I know it has on you. So
Yeah.
you obviously have a prosthetic arm there. What are some of the other things that you've got there on your bed that you want to show us?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things from the kitchen because I'm the cook in the house. My husband can't boil water. This is a push button can opener. So you just put it on your can, push the button, and it goes around for you and takes the can lid off. So that's easy. You have to have left-handed scissors when you're left-handed. And then I have a conglomeration of pieces that go on the end of my prosthetic. This particular one, you can put a little dumbbell in and you attach it so that you can lift weights on both sides of your body.
Okay. Yeah.
This one, I'll put that one last because that's the one I was working with. This one is more of I can help around the household picking up things. Like if I could pick up my laundry basket, hold it with this, and then
Yeah.
pick it up. Or
Okay.
bags, groceries, whatever. And then I have this one that is really, really important to me because this one allows me to do push-ups, burpees, all my
There you go.
exercise stuff.
Yeah.
And then this last one, before COVID, I was learning how to rock climb pull
Oh,
myself.
wow.
and
Wow.
pull myself up with this because it's virtually impossible to pull yourself up with a one arm if you're a girl.
Yeah. That is cool.
And then
So-
COVID hit, and I was like, rats.
there was no rock climbing, no
Save
rocks to
that for
climb
another
a while.
time. Yeah.
So
Then I have other things that help me, like in the kitchen. There's left-handed chopping boards, etc.
yeah. That's really neat. So I love it that some of the prosthetics are made specifically so you can continue to train for your own health, but also to continue to train your clients.
Right.
Yeah, that's really neat. That's really, really neat.
I know. I feel like I should invent something at some
Sure.
point.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't from reading the article. It wasn't in a company there in Austin that made this for you. Were they in Austin?
Yeah, my prosthetic is made by Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Yeah.
Yeah. I blinged it though.
Oh,
But
I
this
was
is-
wondering if those were little lights, or those
They're
are
little
just
gems.
bejeweled, huh?
Yeah. But this is my third prosthetic. The first one was kind of like a prototype.
Okay.
The second one I busted during COVID because of the design wasn't quite right. So this is my third one.
Yeah.
This one's doing pretty good.
Oh, that's neat. Really neat.
And then I also have one that's in the closet. That's the fancy one that you use your muscles with to open and close the hand.
Oh, okay.
But it's so heavy and so cumbersome and so annoying
Yeah.
just to put it on.
Mm.
It takes literally 10 or 15 minutes to get it on.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I'm like, well, if it just the hand opens and closes. What else?
Yeah.
That's all it does.
Yeah. So it's not worth putting up the hassle just for that feature,
No.
huh?
I guess if I wasn't an athletic person and it was more cosmetic,
Yeah.
then that would be
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's such a great story, and what that tells me, what I think that our viewers can get from this is that anybody can make excuses not to exercise and not to be fit. But, I don't think many of us can make the excuse that, well, I'm missing an arm, so I can't do this. I mean, you're living proof that you can do whatever your mind sets and what's you're important to you and passionate about. So there's much more to you than, someone that's overcome these odds and has a prosthetic arm. You are actually a really, really experienced trainer, and you have a lot of knowledge. And I want you to share some of that with our viewers. So what would you say, and I didn't prep any, we didn't do any prep questions on this, but what would you say, Melinda, would be, let's say our viewers, 3 things that they can, start doing today, tonight, in the morning, tomorrow, that will start guiding them toward optimal health?
First of all, I think people, they miscalculate, if that's the word I want to use, they miscalculate how important your diet is in the equation. Right. There's 70% of what you do is what you eat. The other 30% is, exercising, getting the right amount of sleep, drinking enough water. But if you're not eating the correct food to fuel your body and its metabolics, then you're not going to lose weight if that's what your goal is. You're not going to build muscle if that's what your goal is. So the very first thing is I would tell people is to get rid of the sugar in your diet. And that includes starches, those bad starches, rice, pasta, bread. I mean, I eat bread, but I don't eat rice, I don't eat pasta, and I don't eat potatoes.
Yeah. Sugar is poison.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't eat junk food except occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such great advice, because I think so many people think, well, if I go spend an hour at the gym, now I can go home and eat whatever I want. It doesn't work that way. It's a culmination of different things. So diet, I agree with you 1,000%. Diet is one. I did a bodybuilding contest 5 years ago, and I'm working out just as hard now as I was then, but I'm not on as a strict diet, and I still eat healthy, but just the way your body appearance is different. It just what you fuel it with is so important.
Yeah. The second thing I would tell people is, what I hear a lot of people tell me is that they don't have the time. They don't have the time to do their workout. And I'm like, well, I think you have the time to watch that television show at night, or to play on your computer,
right?
Or, I said, even if it's just walking your dog a long way, that's better than sitting in front of your computer doing whatever.
Right.
So you have to actually factor it in to your daily routine. If it's 30 minutes, great. Let's figure out what you can do in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, Melinda, that, well, if I can't spend an hour working out, I might as well not do it. But even 10 minutes a day, every day, is better than 1 hour a week, once a week. Wouldn't you say?
Exactly.
And a lot of times that 10 minutes will work into 15, that'll work into 20, and before you know it,
And one of the most efficient workouts these days is high intensity interval training, or Tabata. You can get that done in 20 minutes. You're a sweaty mess at the end, and what you've done is created oxygen debt, so that you're still burning calories at a higher rate after your workout.
Do you have I know that I've seen apps for the iPhone or different phones with the HIIT workout apps. Is there an app that you recommend, or that you particularly use, or are they all pretty good?
I don't use any apps, but I will go on YouTube. There's tons of great material on YouTube.
So
just type in.
Explain what high intensity interval training is in a nutshell. What is that?
It's a timed workout. Particularly, Tabata is a little different because there's a rest phase. In HIIT, you don't get that rest phase. You do an exercise for, let's say, 40 seconds, you go full out, pummel it for 40, stand there for 20, and then you repeat it. You do the same exercise 4 times. So that's a 4-minute cycle. And however many cycles you want to do, I do 7. So it's almost a 30-minute workout.
Okay. Well, so if you're doing the high intensity interval training, exactly, I can do this for 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 16, 20, you do it for 28 minutes, so almost 30 minutes. So anybody can work that into their day. So is it just effective if you did, say, 8 minutes in the morning and 12 minutes in the evening, or is it better to do 20 minutes all at once?
That's a great question, because a lot of people will have to do that. They have to factor in, okay, got the kids to deal with, got the dogs to deal with, got to get lunches made, got to prep for dinner. You could break it down in 3 cycles. Do 1 in the morning, 1 at lunch, 1 in the late afternoon or early before you have dinner.
Yeah.
And it's effective for anybody. And it's also really great because it helps to curb your appetite. When you're exercising at that intensity, the first thing you do is your body kind of tries to get into homeostasis or equilibrium.
Yeah.
So that you're not having these sugar rushes.
Right. Well, going back to, that's a good point. I wish I'd have brought this up when we were talking about diet, but going back for a second, I know that when I was training for my bodybuilding physique contest, I was eating 7-8 meals a day, but they were very planned out. They were, low calorie, a perfect combination of protein and carbs. What is your feeling about, and I've read since different opinions on that, having several small meals a day or sticking to the regular, 3 square meals a day? What are your thoughts about that?
I think that the best way for me personally, and this is going to be different for a lot of people, but for me, I feel like the best way to eat your carbs is surrounded by when you're going to exercise. The best way to eat the majority of your protein is before you go to sleep, unless you're a bodybuilder, before you go to sleep, because that's when your body is replenishing all those energy cells and everything and building blocks of the proteins using those amino acids.
Is casein protein better for at night before you're sleeping than whey protein? That's what I've always kind of gone by. If I'm going to have protein at night, a shake or whatever, I use casein protein because it absorbs more slowly over the evening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I think people hear the word carbs and they think, oh, yeah, we want low carb or no carb. Carbohydrates are actually good for us, but we need to be eating the right kind of carbohydrates, right?
Right. And I think, this is my one, I'm probably going to get somebody not liking me, but this is my one problem with the keto plan. I think a lot of people think that they are doing keto when they're just eating low carbs, but true ketosis is the lowest amount of carbs that your body can survive on. And that is not healthy. Your brain needs glucose, okay? It needs carbohydrates to function. And I think people just go buy their keto meals and they think, oh, well, I'm doing keto. But you're not really in ketosis. It's kind of you think you're doing something, but as soon as you go off that ketogenic process and start eating like regular people, and that weight comes right back.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are some good carbs? Give us some examples of good, healthy carbs.
I like to have, all of your vegetables are good. I do eat bread, but it's kind of a low carb bread. It's a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. So let's say your piece of bread might have 15 or 20 grams of carbs in it. Mine has 6. So
yeah.
And when you're doing carbs, carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. So you can do the math in your head. How many calories am I eating?
Right. 4
your fats have 9 calories per gram, and protein also has 4.
Okay. All right. Good. That's good to know. Okay.
Tortillas, you can find the low carb tortilla that's
Yeah.
edible.
Yeah, I know at the Kroger where I shop, there's the tortilla shelf. There's like 4 stacks of shelves, and they're about 15 feet long. And there are so many different kinds of tortillas you can get there.
Right.
And be careful, because the ones that it might say spinach tortilla.
Right.
So you're thinking, oh, it's made all out of spinach. That's not really true. Read labels. Wouldn't you agree that people should read labels? And what are some of the words and labels that you should stay away from?
You want to always look at the first ingredient. If it's water or sugar, toss it.
There you go. Yeah.
It's just filler.
Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup.
Not
awful.
good. Not good.
Awful. Yeah. I like something that's going to have some fiber in it. So read the label, and it should have some fiber on that label. If it doesn't have fiber, it's not really helping you that much.
What are some foods that our audience can eat that are really healthy, good in fiber? I know oatmeal probably is, right? What are some other foods that they can eat to get the proper fiber?
Well, for instance, this Sola bread that I eat is full of fiber. A lot of the lower carbed things have fiber added to them so that you're getting that balance. You don't need some kind of fiber supplement.
Yeah.
You also want anything with cellulose. So all your vegetables that you have to chew up, that cellulose that you're chewing. Apples, the outside of the apple, cellulose.
Yeah, you really want to eat the peel on an apple, right? When you're eating an apple. Yeah.
Exactly.
And a proper amount of fiber in your diet really reduces the risk of colorectal cancer, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And my grandmother on my mom's side, that's what she died of.
Okay. Yeah. You know, it's some of us have to learn our lessons by tragedies around us. It's kind of like, well, I don't want that to happen to me. You know, I love my grandmother, but I look at the lifestyles of some of the people that I know and the ailments they're having, and I know what that's from, or at least part of it. Those are hard conversations to have sometimes. So I think one of the things that I would add as the top 3 things would be your mental state of, where are you mentally? Are you ready to pursue this? Are you ready to quit being healthy? And I think that, that has to come at some point. I think that if someone starts something like 10 minutes a day and sees, hey, I can do this, and then, in 3 months now they're an hour a day, I think that mental part then may come with it. Other people have to get the mental part first, and then they start. So you've talked about diet, number 1. I agree there. Exercise, high intensity interval training. Before we go to number 3, what you would say your third would be? What was the other exercise that you said, the high intensity interval training, or you said something else?
Oh, Tabata.
Yeah, Tabata, what is that?
Mr. Tabata invented this kind of workout it was for the Army back decades ago. But it's another form of interval training, but it's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And you do that for 4 minutes, and then you actually get a break. You get a whole minute off to recoup. And then you go do it again and again.
So 20 on, 20 off.
10 off, yeah.
Oh, 20 on,
10 off.
10 off.
4 minutes.
And you do that for 4 minutes.
And then you get a minute break.
And then a minute. Okay. And
so you could, do 3 of those, and that's good.
And then 1 minute break, and 3 of those, and you're looking at about 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great advice. I think, it's like, for some people, it's like riding a bicycle. They're not going to ride a bicycle, just hop on a bicycle and ride it. Some people have to start with a tricycle and then training wheels, and then they're on a bicycle, and then the next thing you know, if they're, racing in the, professional bike racing. So these are really good ways that people can get on that tricycle and start.
Right.
Anybody can exercise 10 minutes a day at first. So what's number 3? Diet, exercise.
I think
3.
that, along the sense of your mental health and mental capacity, you need to make sure that you're decompressing and you're doing some kind of self-love thing. I think that's what I forgot to do the past year. And that's why I've gained some weight, because I was busy doing for everybody else during this past year and the pandemic. I forgot to do for myself.
Yeah.
So right now I am doing for me.
Well, and in doing that, you'll be better for the other people you serve. So it's kind of like, on the airplane, adults put the mask on yourself first, then take care of your child. So that's great advice. What are some things that people can do to do that, to take care of themselves? I know meditation is one. Just getting someplace quiet and just focusing on something good or focusing on nothing, just being. What are some?
You can there's some really good, just some monotone music that's not busy, and then you can sink into your own brain and maybe just lay in savasana for 5 minutes, which is the dead body pose in yoga, where you're just laying on your back, and just focusing on your breath, inhaling and exhaling, expanding your lungs and exhaling. Turn off all your devices. All we have is device. And they're good. They're very good. I will say, I'm glad we have them, but turn them off sometimes. Just don't listen to the TV. Don't listen to the news. Don't go on Facebook. Just let yourself be. I like to go hiking with my dog. I let her off leash, and then I just go into my own brain.
Great advice. I see so many people in my neighborhood. I live on a golf course, and they're out walking, but they're looking at their phone while they're walking, or they're talking on their phone, and it's like, it's not being judgmental. I mean, maybe that's a cardiovascular surgeon in the hospital is calling. I don't know, but I just see it, and I think it's humorous because, part of exercising can be a meditation in and of itself. I mean, when I used to run a lot, I would really get into a meditative state when I was running, and I would lose all track of time and the endorphins. Right. When you exercise, you can expound on this a little bit, but when you exercise, your body releases endorphins, right? Right.
You've got some serotonin and dopamine in your body that play different times. Like for me, I'm not a jogger, so I don't get endorphins when I jog. I just feel pain. But when I'm on the cycle and spin, I'm like, okay, you can get lost in this, and the music's playing, and there you go. And pretty soon that hour's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I just busted my butt and didn't even think about it.
Well, and you brought up you talked about spin, and I know that you teach that or have taught that in the past. I love spin class for a couple of reasons. You're in there with a group of people. Probably not now, but we'll get back to that after COVID. And you're all doing the same thing, and it's kind of that group mentality. And to me, I'm like you. Spin classes. If I had to do one aerobic exercise the rest of my life, and that's all I could do, it would probably be spin class, because there's a social part of it too, and I'm a social guy. So
yeah, and you're not pounding on your joints,
right?
And anything that's got music driven, like today I taught, and I had Prince was a lot of my playlist today.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, love this guy.
That's great. And the spin class that I used to go to, the not the actual class, but the company, they had different classes, and you could go to classic rock, you could go to disco, you could go to country, spin country,
Wow.
spin love songs, spin rap. So whatever it was you're in the mood for, they had it, and
Yeah.
I thought that was great because music is a great motivator. It really
Right.
is. Speaking of music, tell me, and I mentioned something this earlier. If I didn't, I was thinking about it. You and your husband's a professional musician, right? Saxophone player.
That's
You guys have been doing and still doing something really, really cool during COVID. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, as you probably experienced when COVID hit, and the governor shut down the state, all of the bars shut down, music venues, everything shut. And Austin's like a huge music capital. So my husband, he kept seeing gig after gig after gig being canceled or rescheduled for next year. And finally, I had been doing this online exercise thing, and I said, why don't you call some of these other musicians who aren't doing anything, and let's put together a driveway show. Spread out the people. They can wear their masks. They can bring their little, picnic or whatever. Let's advertise it on Facebook, Instagram, and Nextdoor, the app for Nextdoor. And so we started that, I want to say July of last year, which was a hot time to start, but we still did it. And so this coming May 1st will be our 14th driveway show. And
Wow.
It's been really phenomenal.
That's great. So you do what about once a month or once
Or
two
twice a month.
Or, okay.
And
where do the people sit? They don't sit out on the street, do they?
No, they sit in the neighbors' yards and they spread out. And
Okay, so across the street, the neighbors' yards, maybe on the sidewalk.
yeah, they bring their chairs.
Yeah, that is really cool. So are you getting people outside of your neighborhood coming as well? As they've
Yeah.
heard?
Yeah, we had 60 people last time.
Yeah, that's really neat. Maybe they put a tip jar out. They're not going to make a lot of money doing this. That's an act of love.
Right.
And
Well-
it's also an act of their expression of their art and who they are too.
I feel like, I kept watching him get, more and more mopey from all the lack of gigs, because that's, that part of it is that feeds your soul. And which is why I kept pressing him, because, since probably May of last year, I kept, putting in his ear, and it took him another 2 months before he would finally do it. And I said, and, I don't want to say I told you so, but it did work.
Wives don't have to say "I told you so." A husband, we know it. We know it when it happens. You don't have to tell us.
Right.
Well, speaking of music, as we always do on this podcast, we go out with a bang, and we go out with a favorite song of our guests. And you have picked one by one of my favorite female artists, Christina Aguilera. "Soar" by Christina Aguilera. Let's listen to the little snippet that you've chosen, and then you can expound on it and tell us what that song means to you. Derek, cue it up.
In life, there's gonna be times when you're feeling low, and in your mind, the insecurity seems to take control. We start to look outside ourselves for acceptance and approval. We keep forgetting that's the one thing we should know is don't be scared, fly alone, find a path that is your own. Love will open every door. It's in your hands, the world is yours. Don't hold back and always know all the answers will unfold. What are you waiting for? Spread your wings and soar.
Love that song. What does that song say to you, Melinda?
I think, like a lot of Christina Aguilera's songs, she's very reflective in her own life and her own tragedies and her own successes. But when it means to me, you can't rely on other people, you have to look within yourself and be your own person, be the strength that you need, and then you can spread that kind of love to everybody else.
Very wise, very wise. Because the better that we can be personally, we're going to be better to other people as well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we especially need it these days.
Boy, tell me about it. I agree with you 1,000%. Listen to the, what's the Don Henley song? I'm learning to live without you now. I forget the title of it. But there's a verse right in the middle of that song that describes exactly, we all need a little tenderness. That's how the verse starts. I can't think of it right now, but listen to that. That middle verse of that song. It's a song about a lost love, but the middle verse of that song applies to exactly what's going on, just like this one that you brought up. Melinda, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great seeing you. You look great. What an inspiration you are, and I thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot of inspiration for this. Before we go out, is there do you have a website? Do you have how can people find, like in the Austin area, if they're watching this, how would they find out about you and how would they contact you?
Yeah, you can locate me on Facebook, Melinda, Melinda, Thomas, like the word Thomas, and my last name is V as in Victor, Ague. Or I'm on Instagram at Vague Melinda. Sometimes on Sundays, I teach a class on Instagram to anybody who wants to take it. And I usually save it on Instagram for 3 days if you like to take it anytime. Those are the two main ways. And you can always message me in Messenger if you get on Facebook.
All right.
All right.
Sounds
I do
good.
appreciate you having me.
You bet, Melinda. It's great to see you. Maybe next time I get to Austin, we'll get together.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
I love that.
All right.
Thanks.
This is Hal Stewart signing out for Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. You guys have a great day.